Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today we have a book unhaul. I, this year, have really been focusing on trying to get my physical and honestly my Goodreads TBR down as low as they can go. I feel like doing this has only actually motivated me even further to continue doing it because I'm realizing that when I have books too long, like for too long on my TBR, and I kind of lose interest, it kind of loses that hype with me. Like, I've noticed that I don't enjoy the books as much. Would a book that came out like this be as popular today? Does it align with my reading taste even? And a lot of times the answer is no. So I'm like, it's really like proving to me that I need to stay up with my TBR physically and on Goodreads even, because when a book is hyped up in your mind or you're excited about a book or it's relevant to things that are going on today, it just is different. And a lot of the books I've read, like I just finished reading They Both Die at the End, which everybody was like obsessed with when it came out. When it came out, if I had read it right from the jump, 2018, like right away, I think I would have loved it. But now I'm like, okay, like it was good. Did it heavily impact me the way it did other people when it came out? No. Will it, stay with me? No. And so it's just like that relevancy, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how else to explain it. But it's actually, you would think it would do the opposite and I would be ready to be done with this challenge and I would be like, I'm ready for some new books, I don't want to read my TBR anymore, like all these things. But it's actually doing quite the opposite. It's motivating me even further to get through my TBR because I'm like, I don't even know if I'm gonna like any of these books, and now I'm nervous about it and I'm like, I need to keep up with it. So I'm trying to really think about the books that I actually want to read still. Like if I have even a limited amount of interest, honestly, I'm getting rid of them or I'm taking them off my TBR. And if I happen to want to read them one day, I'll get it from the library. It's no big deal. But so far, I haven't even thought about these books since they've been in this bag over here. So I think I have my physical TBR down to 60. A lot of them honestly are classics, which I've thought about not counting on my TBR because I don't necessarily pick them up or own them. I collect Penguin editions, like classic Penguin editions. And so I'm not necessarily picking these up when I see them at like Goodwill or the thrift store or the library sale to read them, like with the intention of reading them. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 of them, and a lot of them it's because I collect them. I love the editions. I love owning them. So it's like I've thought about even taking those off of my TBR because I don't like have them to read necessarily. So I think that's like unfair to count in my like library. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on that. If you're like a book collector, like do you count them as your TBR? Because I feel like no, right? That's unfair to me. Let's just get into it. First, I did want to talk about super quickly some books that I already have passed on to my sister. I did send her pictures and whatnot just to see she's really into reading right now, which I love because I've always been the only reader in the family, and it's so nice to finally have someone to like send videos to on like TikTok or like whatever, like Book Talk, BookTube. Like it's so fun. So I'm like trying to keep it going. So I did send her some, and there were a few that she did want. So she took my copy of Stephen King's 4 Past Midnight. I don't know if I'm ever going to get into Stephen King. I don't really know if it's something that I want to actually, step my foot in. I think that he's a bit overhyped. Like literally don't come for me, relax. I think that he's a little bit overhyped. I think that there's a lot of really harmful things in his books, and I just don't know if I'm like, there's so many good authors out there, there's so many amazing books out there, and I know that his are like classics, like It, right? Classic, iconic, but like to who?
Fucking man.
She also took my arc that I had of Angelica Frankenstein Makes Her Match by Sally Thorne. I was excited about this arc initially because I really like the hating game. I was excited to see her do something different, but I heard really bad things about this book. Like when Angelica Frankenstein is like making her match, right? She's like making her dream man. It's not like, Frankenstein with like, oh, I want to make this creature or whatever, which is still fucked up, but she's like trying to make her perfect man like for her, and so she like, apparently there's scenes where she's like, oh, he has to have like a specific dick that she wants. No, Be fucking for real. No. I don't know how to explain it. It's just fucking weird. So it made me a little uncomfortable. Not something that I would want to read at all. So I did pass. She also took my copy of Dangerous Men. Dangerous Men? I read this back in like 2018. I liked it. I enjoyed it a lot. I think she'll really enjoy it, which is why I'm happy that she picked it out. But it's kind of like a woman, like it's kind of like a crime detective, like mystery. I wouldn't say detective because she's not a detective, but it's kind of something like that. But it's a woman, and I feel like we don't see a lot of women in like crime fiction specifically a lot. So I did really like it, and I enjoyed it, but I just didn't love it enough to like keep it on the shelf. Like I read it, but I have not thought about it since. It's not a book I've even pulled out for a video or anything. So it's like, do I need it? I can always just pop it up right here. Like I don't need the physical copy, you know. She also took my copy of A Necessary Evil. Now I really enjoyed this. This is another book that is a crime story. I'm not the biggest fan of crime stories normally, which is why I think I'm fine on like passing on them. This is one that I had for a class. I took a global crime lit class back in uni, and it was like crime stories, but anywhere but the US. So we had like Canada, Japan, India, which was this one, and Ireland. We read Tana French. This one I only got about like halfway through, and we ended up not really having to do anything with this book, so I didn't finish reading it. And you know, I did really enjoy the first half, actually, like a lot, but I had it on my shelves now for like 5 years, and I'm like, if I was going to read the second half, like I only had half left, and I still didn't even have like the urge to pick it back up to finish it. So I was like, there's no way that I'm ever going to. Now let's get into some arcs that I have. So the first one was really surprising to get in the mail, and that is The Atlas Paradox, which is actually the Atlas 6 sequel. The thing is, I've never read Atlas 6. I've never talked about Atlas 6. I've never brought it to anybody's attention that I was interested in Atlas 6. It's not on my TBR. Someone else finding this in a free little library will probably freak the fuck out. Like, someone will like think their day is like so blessed to get their hands on this. And I am not. So I'm like, I'd rather give it to somebody else and let somebody else like cherish it. Meanwhile, I'm just here like letting it collect dust, like, oh, maybe someday. Then I have Goodbye Earl, which is a revenge novel. It does sound really interesting though, actually. It was blurbed by both Roxane Gay and Taylor Jenkins Reid, which is a combination that I didn't know I needed, but I don't know. It's the type of book where it's like, I will pick it up from the library. I'll read it on audio. I prefer reading mysteries, thrillers, things like that, horror even, on audio, just because I prefer the ambiance, and I just prefer it, to be honest. Those are the type of books that I really enjoy audibly, and I just didn't really have a desire to pick this one up at the end of the day. It sounds fantastic. It's still on my TBR. I just don't really want a physical copy, to be honest. Then I have The Love Match. Now, I'm just not into YA anymore. I definitely didn't request this. It's about a like Bengali woman, girl, she's being a princess. It's YA. I'm just like, I'm not super keen on YA, especially really young YA. So I don't know, it just didn't sound like something that I would be super interested in. Then I have The Genome Odyssey. I really love genetics. I love everything about it. This was right up my alley. I've had this. This came out in 2021, and I think I've had it since like 2020, maybe even before, to be honest. My library owns it on audio. It's the type of book I would prefer to listen on audio, and because it's like stories about genetics and how they're using genetics to help save people's lives, and I think that would be a good listen. It almost feels more like a podcast vibe than anything. Actor Aged Eve Brown. I picked this one up. I saw this at a free little library, this arc, so I did pick it up. But then it was sitting on my shelves, and I was like, oh, I'll get to it after I read Get a Life, Chloe Brown, but I don't own Get a Life, Chloe Brown, and I hate the audiobook of Get a Life, Chloe Brown. It's terrible. Absolutely terrible. And then I kept telling myself I should hold on to this one because eventually I'll want to read it, and it's like, I'm just gonna wait until I ever get my hands on Get a Life, Chloe Brown. and then after, if I even want to continue, I'll pick this up somewhere else. Then I have Turtles in Paradise, the graphic novel version. And this I have already read, and I did really enjoy it, but I just think putting it in like a free little library would, I don't know, be nice for the community, because I think that, especially it being summer and whatnot, I think kids would really enjoy this as a middle grade graphic novel. Inheritance. This is a book that my husband Girk picked out from the bookstore. He doesn't want to read it. I have no interest. Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore. I read this. I didn't really enjoy it. Not one I'm going to reference or pull out or anything like that. I think I gave it 3 stars. And I did read the prequel that came out as well, because it was just like a really short little novella. So I did read that. Enjoyed it, but I don't know about this one. Africa, The Quest for Eternal Harmony. This is a textbook from the first time that I went to college. I was holding on to it because I never got the chance to read it for the class. It was like supplemental reading, and it is really interesting. And I think that it's sad that we learn in the United States, we learn about like European history and like even some Asian history and stuff like that, but like we never learn about African history, like besides the slave trade, and that's literally not even close to the start of African history. So it's just wild to me. I keep telling myself I'll read it. I'm not gonna pick up a textbook, like, let's be honest, to read. I'll watch a documentary, I'll, you know, listen to podcasts. I'll find other ways to learn things that I have missed throughout my life, but I'm not gonna pick up a textbook. Like, I'm just being realistic with myself at this point. Now, like I said, I collect Penguin Classics. I couldn't decide if I wanted to try to own like every Penguin Classic edition, or if I wanted to own just books that I actually am interested in or would like to own or know about or are relevant or whatever in Penguin Classic Edition. Like, if I'm gonna own a classic, I would get it in the Penguin Classics Edition. Do you know what I mean? Like, the difference. So I went on a rampage a while ago, and at the like thrift store and at the library book sale and all this, I picked up just like every Penguin Classic Edition that I saw. To be honest, I still go back and forth on these. That's why I have not gotten rid of them yet, because part of me, I still can't decide what I want to do. Like, part of me wants to collect as many as I can find, just because I think that they are such amazing editions. I love these. I think they're the most thorough editions of literary work that you can find, especially if you're in school. I think they have so much amazing supplemental resources and like text that helps you understand the story better, and I love them to death. But I don't know. So I have Fathers and Sons, and then I have Henry James, The Ambassadors. Like, these are 2 books I'm never gonna read. Let's be honest. I'm not gonna read these. Not even in my old age do I see myself picking these up. But do they add to the collection? Yes. So I'm like, what do I do? Like, I can't decide. Maybe you can help me decide, because I can't decide. Like, do I just want a ton of Penguin Classic Editions because they look fucking sick altogether? Or do I just want Penguin Classic Editions of all the classics that I actually want to own? I go back and forth. I really do. Under the Feet of Jesus, I did really enjoy this story. This was one that I read for a literary class in uni, but it's just not one that I'm like going to, you know. It was okay to me, that's it. This one may shock some people, but To All the Boys I've Loved Before, I picked this up, I think, at like Goodwill or something for like $1 or something like that. I love the movies. I've never actually read the books. I got this thinking I would read it. I don't really read YA, especially not like romance YA. Like, the books are, I've heard they're good. I really, really like the movies. So since I've already seen them, like, I just really don't think I'm ever going to pick this up, especially considering it's a series. Liberty. This is one that I am still interested in. I do still have the audiobook like saved from the library, but it's just not one I felt like I needed a physical copy of, especially this weird book of the month one without a cover that I found at a free little library. If I listen to it on audio and end up loving it, I'll just buy a copy, but it's not one that I felt like I needed on hand. It also has pretty bad reviews. It was one of the lowest rated books on my TBR, and not that I normally let reviews sway me from a book I'm already interested in, but since I was on the fence about it already, just didn't seem like one that, I don't know, I should keep. Things we never got over. This I found at a free little library. This is so big, and I just like, I was reading the synopsis, I was reading reviews. The reason why a lot of people really love it are reasons that I think I wouldn't love it, so it's just like, I don't know. I just think someone else would really, really enjoy this, and it's not me. Signs and Skymates, this is a like astrological compatibility book. I'm married. I don't need to read that. And we're very incompatible astrology-wise. I have this edition, this Penguin Classics edition of Charles Dickens' A Tale of Two Cities that I found at a free little library. I was going to keep it because it is a Penguin edition and it's a really cool, really old Penguin edition, but I realized in the end that I want all my Penguin editions to match, and this isn't the same like typical version that you would see, so. Lost City of Z, I got this in a book box back in like 2014 or something like that, and I've never read it. I'm not gonna read it now. I'm not gonna read it. I do have some graphic novels from a graphic novel and comics course I took in uni. I kept a lot of these books because it was good memories of like uni and like these classes, and I liked the discussions that we had in them, but like if I didn't enjoy the books, I can just have the memories. I don't need the physical things, you know? Fun Home, I think a lot of people would really enjoy this. It wasn't for me story-wise or art-wise, to be honest. We had some really great discussions about this in the course, but it's just not a book I need to hold on to. It's not memorable enough. There were a lot from the course that I loved so much I definitely held on to, but these just weren't them. Red is a really cool manga. The art style is absolutely fantastic, but it's not one that I'm going to, you know, reach for again, and I think that somebody else would really, really enjoy this because the art style is really fantastic. Then The Arab of the Future. This is a series, and that's why I'm getting rid of it, because I just know I'm not going to continue in the series. It was good. It is like a memoir, kind of. Yeah, it is a memoir, and it's some really deep stuff, some really, really interesting stuff. The art style is really cool. Very, you know, monochromatic as far as like picks a color each chapter, and then that's the color like of the chapter. I think those are the 3 ones. Yeah. Really, really cool, really unique. I think this was an amazing read. I loved having the opportunity to discuss it and learn a lot from it, but that's about as far as I'll go with it, I think. Queer, a graphic history. This is one that I picked up from a free little library. I never got around to reading it, and I just don't think that I will. I think with things like this, like more nonfiction type stuff, I lean a little bit closer to podcasts, YouTube videos, documentaries, articles, things like that to learn. So I don't know, I think that somebody else would really, really enjoy this and learn a lot from it. So I'm really excited to pass this on. Fertility. My sister gave me this book, and I did read it, but I don't think there's a lot in here that I don't already know, or that honestly is kind of a little outdated information as far as I'm concerned. So I am going to pass this one on to someone who may benefit more from it than I would. There's a lot of like really good recipes in here and stuff that I wouldn't make personally, but I think a lot of people would. So happy to pass that along. The Water Dancer. This is one I'm hesitant to get rid of because I haven't read it. And it does sound really interesting, but it's a huge book and it takes up a lot of space, and I haven't read it in the time that I have had it, and I was flipping through it, and I just don't know. But if you loved this, let me know. I'll hold on to it. These books aren't going anywhere anytime soon, so if there's any of these that you're like, I feel like you need to read that or you need to hold on to it, then let me know. Then I have Untamed, which is like a memoir self-help book. No. And I have Children of Blood and Bone, which was at the time the oldest book that's been on my TBR. Gerg actually picked this out. He wanted to read this one. I was also pretty interested. He got about halfway. He said it was really good, but it's just not the kind of thing that like he would read, and I kind of feel the same way. I never picked it up, but had I read this right when it came out, I think I would have really liked it. But to be honest, I'm just kind of over it, and it's not really the type of thing that I reach for anymore, and I think someone else will really, really enjoy this. Then the last thing I have is another random conception and pregnancy book that my sister gave me. Somebody else will use this. It's very, very outdated. I can't even show you these pictures. but it's very outdated. So that is everything that I'm getting rid of. I think it's like a total of like, God, I don't even know. It's definitely over like 20, 30 books. I'll count. I'm sure I put it in the thumbnail somewhere or something like that. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to like it and leave me a comment with what you think about my whole Penguin Classics dilemma. I go back and forth. I really do. I really do. And then let me know, like I said, if you've read any of these, how you feel about them, things like that. Yep. So I hope that you guys are having a great day, afternoon, or night, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.